Josh, National Editor of the Cyber Express, and this podcast is coming to you from the Black Hat Security Conference in collaboration with Suraksha Catalyst. With me to discuss the life of a CISO are Beenu Arora, CEO and co-founder of threat intelligence leader Cyble and a board advisor for Suraksha Catalyst, and Joshy Alappat, CISO of Oncourse Home Solutions. Welcome, gentlemen. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Beenu, let's start with you. The job of a CISO is possibly the least coveted C-level job. What makes these roles so difficult and stressful?
I think the fundamental issue is that the threat landscape is continuously changing and evolving. I mean, if you look at like 10 years ago, the problem was all centered about, I want to get maximum visibility of my environment. I don't know what's out there. And then if you look at 5 years ago, people said, oh, I know what's out there, but I don't know if I'm fixing these issues on time. And today we are into this whole AI generation or AI era where I think not only the attack surface has significantly compounded because of new development and innovations the enterprise are currently doing, but more importantly, the attackers and the attacks have become a lot more sophisticated. So they were like good old days when you would get a crappy email with grammatical errors and everything. Today it's like fully AI generated, probably speaks, and some of these, phishing emails are even GPT-0 proof kind of, attacks coming in. So what we are facing the challenge, and I think I can speak on behalf of the CISO community since I've worked closely with them and I've played this role before, is, the attacks are becoming increasingly more complex, more sophisticated. Traditional security measures are becoming a lot more nice to have than becoming must have because they are not really adaptive or they don't have that memory system inbuilt where they can understand the context and the heuristics of these attacks. And then more importantly, I think there's more asks to do, there's asks to do more, but not necessarily people are getting or we are getting the adequate budgets to do more things. Now, I think it's becoming a situation where everybody wants the best-in-the-class security environment for their organization, but not necessarily giving you adequate budgets to be able to deal with it. So it's a pretty challenging role because you end up taking a number of decisions confined under very specific variables, and that's a very challenging position to be in. That's just my opinion. I'd love to hear more on Joshy as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is. The expectations are high, right? And we have the evolving threats, and now you add AI, and your legacy controls is not sufficient. Newer controls needs to come in and address these issues. And I agree with Beenu on it. The ask is you need to be best in class, reduce your risk, right? I think there is awareness that cybersecurity risk is enterprise risk. So that adds to it, and then you need to work towards reducing that risk and maintaining that risk posture. That's a challenge.
Yeah. So Joshy, let's stay with you for just a second. Is the situation getting any better?
Yes and no. I think in the old days, security was, hey, you manage the firewalls or things like that. I think today there is awareness, at least in my opinion, that there's becoming an enterprise issue. If you look at the breaches that's happening, there is impact to the brand. So there is awareness that you need to take security seriously. However, I think the goalpost keeps changing. We have newer requirements, SEC regulatory requirements. There's NYDFS, right? There's a lot of different requirements. And also the challenges in security team, we don't control everything. But we need to manage that risk. For example, if somebody clicks on a link, right, that could be an issue down the road. Or malicious. So you don't control everything. Or if it's a supplier risk. And then you add AI to it, it's a whole new risk area that we're still figuring out, and then newer controls that needed to be from protecting the business and the brand. So it's gotten better from an awareness perspective, but I think the threat landscape keep changing and the goalposts keep changing. So you need to keep adapting all the time.
Yeah. Beenu, what can be done to make the role of CISOs better? Can AI help?
I think AI has been it's a double-edged sword. That's what we call it. I think with the especially, I mean, there's hundreds of billions of dollars that has gone into the AI advancement in the last couple of years. There's literally an AI gold rush going on, and some amazing companies including from Y Combinator, which are coming out, on a regular basis. What we are seeing is that many of these technologies are playing a profound role in terms of giving us more tools and more ammunition to better understand what threats are really out there and what approach can we really, do we have to change our approach? We've been talking about risk prioritization for 20 plus years, probably more. Risk-based approach, the line of defenses, you're going to put as many defenses as possible to, contain the threats or stop the threats. I think what we are realizing is that AI is helping us significantly in three areas. That's just my opinion there. The first thing which I would see is it's giving us access to the insights or new information which previously were not really readily available. That actually helps us a lot in a faster decision making. I think one of the biggest problem which all the CISOs generally have it is how they allocate or prioritize the resource allocation. I mean, where they're gonna spend, because obviously because there's so many tools, so many different dashboards, so many different alerts and incidents, you end up thinking which one is actually creating the most value for me. I think that's where AI is giving you a lot more better understanding on the ROI perspective as well. So we talk about the insights, we talk about the ROI. The third part is, which is very important in my opinion, is there's also a lot of efficiency which gets driven out of this whole AI-based initiative or AI-native initiatives. And Cyble probably is also one of the key, members or one of the key patrons over here who are driving AI-native initiatives across our platforms. But what we have observed is it actually also gives a significant opportunity for the resources, like the current resources, that they can repurpose themselves to do more complex and more complicated tasks. And the less complex or more repeatable tasks can be managed through the agentic AIs or AI-based workflows. I think that's where you have a lot of opportunity for reducing your costs as well, making more efficient, creating more efficiency. But then more importantly, use those insights which you can gather because of these startups and techs which are out there to better drive your decision making on the resource allocation. I think that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I think AI is definitely can help. We all work with limited resources, and the skill sets that's available is not exactly where we need to, the right skill sets and all that. The other challenge is from a CISO perspective, identifying risk and responding to it quickly is name of the game, right? So if you can prioritize, understand, hey, these are the risks that I have. So how do you do that? I think that from the industry perspective, from new controls or new technologies will help for me, for example. So there is, let's say, a particular risk, but I probably have other compensating controls. So how do you bring all that context together? So that's where I think it's, understanding those contexts, because a human can say, hey, I have this vulnerability, but I have virtual patching, I have a certain firewall rules, but that takes time, right? So if I can bring all that together very quickly and ask a couple of questions, what are the controls I have? What is the compensating control? So should I be jumping on this, or should the compensating control takes care of it, so I can look at something else that's not as critical? So understanding that context of vulnerabilities or risks that we have would be where I think AI would help a lot, because we are working with a lot of different data set. There's firewall rules, there's network scanning, there's system scanning, application security, threat intelligence. Put all this together, and with the small teams, or even if it's a large team, it's very difficult to bring that contextual, prioritization. You talked about risk prioritization. So understanding that quickly and then putting your resources in the right place is critical. I think that's where AI can help a lot.
I actually want to stay with this for one more thought. What are there any must-have tools that can help people with these sort of things?
I think automation is key. Some, identifying, you need to have a SOC, you need to have a SIM, but I think to me, the bigger help would be to, ingest all these telemetry into one place and be able to respond, right? Automation, but I think there are some tools out there that are slowly coming into place where it can bring that context, right? So identifying risk from a posture perspective, this, out of, let's say, 10,000, these are the 5 that you need to concentrate on. But that's kind of the information that's helpful from a security team perspective. So there are some things that I see in the market that's coming out in that space.
Interesting. Beenu?
I mean, the traditional security, controls, in my opinion, have been very challenging to operate for multitude of reasons. I mean, I can name a couple. Like, for example, there's so many point solutions which are sitting across the organization. The orchestration, and as Joshy said, doing the automation, which is the objective we are trying to achieve, it's still a nightmare to execute because of changing API specification, and then you bring a consultant in, something works, something breaks, and you don't even have the confidence. I think that's one of the biggest pain points which I had when I was still back in the industry, is there's too many disparate solutions, ultimately fail at the most important need of the hour. That's what we have learned multiple times over and over. So here's what my opinions are, and that's one of the things which Cyble also has a pretty strong convictions in. I think the industry in general will move towards a more integrated or a more platform view to protect the enterprises. Or let's call it like platformization is the key theme, which companies, including Palo Alto and Cyble, are actively executing upon. So today, for example, Cyble itself, we are no longer just a technical company. We also offer an endpoint detection and response solution, even the cloud security solution, and more. So I think what we are, really doing is just following the lead from the customers, and ultimately the goal is, you can have 50 different solutions who are just giving you maybe a very limited amount of alpha in terms of the value, but you end up spending so much of resources in buying, managing, and maintaining, and then integrating them together, and it doesn't even work because it doesn't monitor it, what is working, what is not working. I think this whole like a platform place narrative is becoming a lot more popular. I think it's going to become even more, discussed topic in the future. And we see evidence of it where large companies like Palo Alto acquiring a full identity company like CyberArk, where the acquisition was announced. Microsoft is making a significant play in the platform story. I think that's where the future is going to be. There's definitely going to be room for startups who's going to help in doing the stitching, but ultimately the players which are able to, create a unified, unified view of what the security posture of companies look like, because of the, they're not integrated. These are like bolted security solutions. That's going to be creating the most amount of productivity and efficiency for the enterprises, and it's going to be a lot more impactful in the long term. But for short terms, obviously, we got to do what we got to do at the end of the day.
Very interesting. Joshy, any real world examples that you could share of a CISO's role getting more manageable?
Yes, so I joined Oncourse during a carve out. When I joined, we needed to build everything from the ground up. It could be the compliance program, it could be the SOC controls, and then we also needed to work with a lot of different teams across the board. So also influencing the culture. So it was a newer company. So what we have done in the past year or two is integrating security into everything that we do. For example, our teams are right now part of the sprints, product teams or dev teams. So we are bringing that discussion. We are early, right? Not later. Instead of bolting on, we are trying to embed security early on. That's the approach that we've been taking. So that has helped. Instead of saying, no, you cannot do this, we work early on, hey, how do we work together in a collaborative manner, still address issues in products or features that we deploy. So there's a lot of discussion about partnership, not just IT, legal, HR, product teams, even finance team, right? The things that we need and so on. So there's a lot of partnership, collaboration across the team for us to be successful. So I've seen that plays out in my role. So that's been a lot of help.
That is some great news.
Yeah.
All right.